Now, I want to talk about just on this whole sort of cultural issue, too. Really interesting thing here came out, and I want to talk about The Voice. We haven't spoken about that for ages. Megan Davis, one of the co-authors of the Uluru Dialogue, has now blamed a hatred of politicians for The Voice's failure. Actually, I think she might be onto something, but what do you think?
Well, a lot of politicians we love, don't we? Jacinta Price, for one. But
she's great.
What I don't get about Megan Davis and this crowd is why don't they actually listen to what was said? You know, why don't they actually go back and rewind the tape about the adverts that were being run, the way people were reacting on talkback radio? It was very obvious. We do not, Megan, write this down, Megan, if you're listening, write this down. We do not want to be divided according to race. Full stop. That's it. That's it. You don't need to know anything more. You know, we might not be too keen on one or two politicians. That's nothing to do with it, honestly. It was just we don't want to be divided by race. How many times do we have to say that?
Well, speaking, Nick, of politicians that I think some of our viewers might not be too keen on, the New South Wales Liberal Shadow Minister for Health, Matt Keane, he's over in Dubai right now at the UN COP28 Talk Fest, and he thinks Donald Trump and Tony Abbott give Conservatives a bad name when it comes to tackling climate change. Have a look at this, Nick.
I think that Donald Trump and Tony Abbott give Conservatives a bad name when it comes to tackling climate change. They're the outliers when it comes to Conservatives' response in a policy sense to one of the greatest challenges of our time. The reality is that most centre-right governments are actually leading the way when it comes to this issue.
Nick, how has Keane's Liberal Party membership not been revoked after this sort of thing?
I don't get involved in liberal politics, but you know, I don't. How did he get one in the first place? I think is the question, James. Look, you know, Matt's a nice guy by all accounts, but he just is deluded, and I use that word, you know, very carefully here. Deluded on this, Matt. It is not. It is not the existential challenge that you seem to think it is. But I just think that Matt needs to go out and talk to some engineers, because you can push this as fast as you can. But at the end of the day, we are beyond peak renewables in this country. Every day there is solar panels wanting to put electricity into the grid. The grid can't take it in the middle of the day. We're saturated with the stuff. What we need is baseload, Matt, baseload.
Bingo.
And you used to be energy minister. You should know what that word is and what that means. We need baseload, not more of this junk energy in the middle of the day from people's solar panels.
And I tell you what, Nick, you know, an awful lot of Conservatives want nuclear power, which I notice a lot of Labor types don't. So, you know, who's anti the science now? Before I let you go, though, I've got to ask you about this crazy story now where, and this hits very close to home for me, the UN is going after beef and dairy as part of their newly released United Nations food map, supposedly designed to save the world from runaway climate change. They also want to ban wood fires, have sugar taxes, do all sorts of other things. Now, I don't know about you, Nick, but for me, like, I would take advice from Vladimir Putin's KGB before I took advice from the UN on what I eat.
And by the way, I think Vladimir Putin is not a vegetarian. I could be wrong on that. I don't think he'd be accepting this. Look, this is nonsense. You know, all this new kind of meatless meat that, you know, Bill Gates is inventing in his backyard or something. Honestly, this stuff has got a higher carbon footprint, if that's your concern, than actual properly grown meat. And you know, free range beef is perfectly good for the environment and delicious too. So, look, I think we're getting to the end of this. Fingers crossed. I think we are towards peak woke, James, and I don't think this will last very long. But it is tiresome, isn't it?
I don't know. Every time we get up to sort of the K2 peak of Everest of wokeness, there's this Everest peak of woke right next door. Nick, thanks so much for your time. Go off and enjoy a